All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Hannah Crapo. I'm the content marketing manager here at Certiport. We're so happy to have everyone joining us for our first Certified Academy Design webinar of 2024. Feel free to drop into the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from, what courses you teach. Hopefully, we have a lot of people joining us, that it's lining up with a free moment in your day so that we can all learn a little bit together. If this is something that you're watching after the fact, we're of course recording and have available all of the information from our session in the description of our video today. Because this is going to be something that we're going to be discussing, Rob and I together. If you have questions that you wanted to address to Rob or to myself, please feel free to drop those into either the Q&A or the chat feature, and we'll make sure to address those questions before we wrap up the session today. Now, I did want to just give a quick shout out to our session sponsor, which is the Adobe Certified Professional Certification Program. The future belongs to those who create, whether it's to inform, persuade, entertain, or inspire. Success in the digital age means communicating in visually rich and interactive ways. With a firm grasp on the world's most powerful creative tools, Adobe certified professionals are ready to make their mark. And here in just a moment, I'll go ahead and drop a link to learn a little bit more about Adobe certification for those who are interested and not familiar. And today we're going to be talking about teaching video production and editing, and we're so privileged to be learning from Rob Johnson. Rob is a media professional with over 20 years of experience, having gotten his start in live television as a producer for Comcast Sportsnet in Philadelphia, where he was nominated for 3 Mid-Atlantic Emmy Awards. He brought his industry experience to the classroom and has been involved in various roles as a teacher and digital strategist at LaSalle College High School outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Mr. Johnson's media program has won multiple Mid-Atlantic High School Emmy Awards during his tenure, with many students achieving certification in Adobe Premiere Pro and Adobe Photoshop. So Rob, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so we can see you hopefully a little bit better. There we go. Hi,
Hi.
Rob.
Hello,
Thanks so much
everybody.
for being here. We're so glad to have you. Before we dive in, I just wanted to give you a chance. Obviously, I gave a quick bio, but tell us a little bit about yourself and what you teach.
Yeah, so I've been here at LaSalle. We're located right outside of Philadelphia, part of the greater LaSallian network. So there's about 100 schools. You may have heard LaSalle University or different LaSalles,
Yep.
wherever you're from. We are LaSalle College High School, which used to be on the campus of the university. We are now a little bit away from the university, but still, very close. I've been here for over 15, maybe 16, 17 years. And my job has kind of morphed and changed every year as technology has evolved and the need for creatives and the need for content has increased. So I teach a new program that we started last year, which is called our Digital Media and Communications Concentration Program. So I'm the coordinator of that. So that has kind of really built a nice kind of linear path for our guys to start a freshman year learning some basic skills in production, and then we can get into more kind of the process. But by the end of it, we're in our senior capstone course where we have guys dedicated to individualized pathways and what they want to do in their creative areas. I've taught Photoshop, I've taught Premiere Pro, and then I oversee our WEXP media program, which is what we're in today. This is our studio. So it's a kind of a creative lab that we built about 3 years ago. And it's really taken our game to the next level where we have a place for the students to kind of collaborate and learn and be creative and kind of find each other, which has been instrumentally huge in the growth of our program as well.
So you've touched on a couple of things that I wanted to hit next. You teach multiple ages and grades, right? We're starting with the younger students, then moving up to that capstone course that you mentioned. Tell us how you've structured your programs and then what applications you teach at each of the different levels.
Yeah. I mean, when I started teaching the class, we had one section of video production. So we used Pro, and when I first started teaching it, it was before even cell phones were really prevalent, with the high school age students at least. So, we had tape cameras, we had to plug in the DV and, transcode everything, and the process took forever, but it was a great way to kind of introduce that. And we used to produce just a basic morning show that was, your typical homeroom announcement show about when the football game was and all these kind of things. Over that time, we've really evolved. in terms, as well as the technology has evolved. And I think the entry way for these students now is a lot lower than it used to be when, it was hard to access this kind of content. I
Yeah.
know when I was in school and college, if you wanted to make a video, you had to be involved in a college level program or have a supercomputer, or it was a very specialized field
Mm,
where, it was hard to get access to those kind of things. And as things have evolved with, the laptops the students have, cell phones, technology has gotten better. And all of our students on campus have a Creative Cloud license. So every
mhm,
student in the building of our 1,100 kids have access to all the Creative Cloud tools at their disposal. So we're able to introduce some basic concepts of content creation in our freshman technology class. That's a requirement. So every freshman, on top of getting their skills in our LMS and
mm,
Office and, all the things that need to be a good student here, we've created this course that's very modular based and project driven, where they get concepts in, programming, engineering
mm,
design, video production, social media, and media literacy, all these different things. As a part of that course, we have the students use Adobe Rush, which is kind of the entry level video production
mm.
software that Adobe released about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And then we use Lightroom and Adobe Express a lot in those classes, just to kind of introduce the guys to thinking differently and being creative and just
Mm,
showing them that it really isn't as hard as it used to be to be creative. All these guys have ideas in their brains, and once they see the tools, we used to spend a lot more time spending time talking about the technical side of the software, like where the
sure.
buttons were and how do you do this and how do you do that. And as Adobe has evolved and AI has evolved and all these things have come to fruition, especially in the last 3 to 5 years, all the softwares have gotten a lot more simpler to use.
Mm,
And it's really about, ideas and creativity and just, the tools are almost self-driven now where you just
yeah.
gotta, you have the idea and the content. So we spend a lot less time now teaching the technical, and we teach a lot more time about the storytelling and the improvement of their designs.
The
Um,
artistic side of things. Yeah.
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 So it's a little bit more of a creative class than it used to be a much more technical class.
Mm,
But there's still room for the technical side, and, and,
yeah.
and that's where we bring in all the certifications and all that kind of stuff we'll talk
Yeah,
about
sure.
later on.
All right. Well, I wanted to like take a step back. We've talked about storytelling. You've talked about kind of emphasizing more of those creative skills. Why focus then on teaching video production and editing? Why do you feel like this is an important skill set for your students?
Yeah, I mean, especially for younger students, yeah, I teach high school age students here,
Mhm.
from not, so they're, 13 to 18 years old typically. These students, and it's crazy to see the change in just what a student is now,
Yeah.
as opposed to when I started here 15 years ago. But these kids have never not had YouTube, they've never not had the internet, they've never not had an iPad or a cell phone, or, all those things that we were introduced to, during our careers. These
Mm,
guys have grown up with this stuff. So
yeah.
for them, video and making video and sharing their stories is just part of their life. It's what they do,
Mhm.
from, my son is 7. He makes Lego, animation videos, and he sets up his
Uh-huh.
guide and he puts on the iPad, has an app and does that. And then, my teenage daughters, our daughter uses TikTok, and they're,
Uh-huh.
joking. So, they already are kind of programmed with these concepts, from a very early age,
Mhm.
where, 20 years ago, it was something you had to teach them. Like, this is how it works. So for me, I kind of take it as, they come in all at least having a basic understanding of how to shoot a video, how to make a video, how to share a video on some platform, at least at the high
Mhm.
school age level. So, my job and is to really help them be more creative, help them learn how to use these tools in a much more useful way, and
Mhm.
explain that there are multiple career paths in these fields, that, you might just want to post a video of you and your buddy playing wiffle ball, out in the backyard. But, there's really, a lot more opportunities for marketing and storytelling and creative vision that, these tools allow you to do at a much easier way than it used to be, in a much faster way. You know, they can shoot, edit, publish, and share a video to the world in 10 minutes, you know, where
Mhm.
that would take a lot of money, a lot of hours, and a lot of
Yeah.
access 10 or 15 years ago. So just showing them that and explaining to them, you know, this what abilities they have access to with their thumb is, you know, to them, you know, second nature, but that once they understand like all the power behind it, it really, you know, helps them. So, you know, not every student takes advantage of it. You know, we have certain guys that will just, you know, do the module and learn about video production and I'll never see them again. But then we have other guys that really take it and go to the next, you know, next level times 10 in our other classes and programs and things like that here at LaSalle.
So I want to dive more into those student stories. You've talked about, emphasizing the career paths that students have options to pursue. Tell us about some of your past students. Where have they ended up after teaching, after you've taught them these skills, and how have they earned
Yeah.
these
So I mean,
certifications?
yeah, now that, you know, now that like programs is really moving in a pretty powerful
Yeah.
direction and a lot of classes and different options. And especially with this new senior kind of capstone,
Hmm.
you know, we're sending guys now. We have one senior now that's going to Syracuse next year. He wants to be on air. We have other guys that are more behind the scenes and they're going to media schools at Penn State, I forget where else, Temple, Drexel, and other areas around
Hmm.
locally. But in the last 5 or 10 years, we've seen guys, you know, just at the college level, right into. We have guys right now at JMU, at Duquesne, at UConn, all teams that made the March Madness tournament
I
last
was just
week.
going to say those are names that are
Yeah,
familiar, on top of
yeah,
mind
right.
lately.
And
Yeah.
all those students that are they're sophomores now, they were my top guys 2 years ago. They all
Yeah.
walk onto their campus just like you would as an athlete, but their creative, you know, agencies in those D1 programs are all hiring students and hiring
Hmm.
professionals to sell their brand, market their team, the NIL, all
Hmm.
that kind of stuff that's going on. So they were able to kind of walk on as a freshman and get right involved with the media side of those teams. So they were traveling on the buses and on the planes, and my one student was at Madison Square Garden during the Elite Eight,
Wow.
you know, on the sideline filming. You know, where you know that wasn't possible 10 or 15
Yeah.
years ago. Where there's so many opportunities. We have guys now that work for. He was working on ESPN. Now he works for NHL on TNT at Turner. That, you know, took what he did here, turned it into a career at Syracuse, and then a job at ESPN. We have another guy that took our photography or my Photoshop class and kind of just liked it, worked his way, went to UConn too. You know, took it upon himself to kind of get affiliated with the basketball team and then worked for the Sixers. And now he is the brand strategist for Fanatics, which is, you know, Michael Rubin's
Yeah.
billion-dollar company. So he travels the globe and he's got a camera everywhere he goes, and his job is just create cool content for Tom Brady and, you know, all these, you know, really
Big names.
intellectual
Yeah.
athletes. Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's so many opportunities now where these guys can really take this skill where, you know, when I was in college, you know, you had to work in TV, you
Hmm.
had to work at ESPN, you had to work in the sports, you know, network of, you know, your local news, you know, and now
Yeah.
there's whether you work, I was just at the Adobe Summit conference out in Las Vegas recently, which was a gathering of 10,000 marketers that are all using Adobe products and Adobe
Hmm.
tools. And it ranged from Starbucks to Coca-Cola to Wyndham to MLB baseball, that, you know, all these organizations have a marketing and storytelling wing where they need
Yeah.
video content and designs, and they need someone who understands how to make it, but also once you make it, what are you going to do with it and how are you
Hmm.
going to, you know, share that brand. So it's crazy how many opportunities are out there now for young people to move in these areas.
Yeah, there's so many now that storytelling is such a big part of a brand's identity, and there's so many different ways that that can be represented. I think the skill set of video production and editing has
Mhm.
really exploded. There's so much more demand for it, so many different ways that students and graduates can take it. So
Yep.
for those who are teaching in the classroom like you, who say, okay, we see that it's in demand, we want to be able to give our students these skills, what tips and tricks do you have, particularly for teaching Adobe Premiere Pro, for instance, in
Mhm.
the classroom? How are you
Yeah.
approaching that?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly I recommend it, and it's really helped us a lot, especially for the students that may not have a lot of experience.
Mm.
starting with Adobe Rush. It's a
Okay.
free software that Adobe released about 3 or 4 years ago, but it's pretty much Premiere Pro with just like the
The
JV
pared
version
down version.
of
Yeah.
it. But at least it kind of takes the intimidation factor away of
Mm,
when you open up Premiere and there's so many buttons and windows and options and all these things. Rush really, it works on your phone, it works on your computer, and it allows the students just to kind of get in there and just kind of get comfortable. And then the kids that really take to it are the guys that then we introduce Premiere Pro to, and we get
mm,
those guys in our media club, which is called WXP, which is more of an optional thing. We have a couple new classes, which is digital storytelling. We have a sports production class. We have an internship social media class where the students help me kind of run our social media platforms. And they're the guys that really will kind of jump in with 2 feet and
mhm,
use Premiere Pro and do some more high level stuff and the AI and the effects. And they're shooting with Sony XLR cameras and really high end equipment. Whereas the guys at Rush are just kind of getting started, and we really focus on them using their phones and just shooting with their phone, editing with their
mhm,
phone, and really just talking about the process. And then, as they get through the prey, if you like doing that, you made a cool video about your dog playing in the backyard with your phone and you added some music, what can we do now? Next level. Here's the
mhm.
next software, and here's a better camera to kind of help you move it along and kind of go from there. So that's really helped is, getting the guys, into Adobe.
Low stakes buy-in, yeah, with
Yeah,
Adobe
yeah, get
Rush.
them
Yeah.
in, kind of remove the nervousness of
Mhm,
it. And then once they see, what they can produce, the guys that do want to do this and the girls that want to do this kind of stuff, really, once they know, like, hey, this is cool, but I want to make that video I saw on YouTube, that guy did, or Instagram or TikTok, they're
mhm,
seeing so many things now there. So, a lot of my guys, I teach them and we work in class, but a lot of their stuff they do is self-driven where, they'll go on YouTube and they see a video that a kid made or a guy made that has a neat effect and they find how that guy did it and they bring it back to class and then they show me, they show the other class. So the other piece of advice, I guess, would be it's impossible for one of us to know everything about everything right now in this area. There's just so much out there. And by the time you do master it, Adobe has a new release, 6 months later and everything changes or AI
mhm,
changes it or this happens is, so, getting them into it, but also, helping the kids understand that this is a different type of learning that,
mm,
there is a curriculum and, and Certiport's great with the certification,
yeah.
pathway going through all that stuff, the Learn Key and, but a lot of this stuff is self-directed where if you want to figure something out, you gotta have that growth mindset where you want to go find that information and not rely on the teacher like you do in science class for the next chapter. This
Mhm.
is not a linear progression, and I say that to my guys in my class, a lot of the classes they take, their primary courses, English, math, science are very
Yeah,
linear.
builds on it, right? As
Chapter
you go
one,
through.
chapter two, chapter three, chapter four, where ours, it's very, open-ended. It's very
Mhm.
kind of choose your pathway. You might like to edit more, you like to shoot more, you might like photography, but figure out where your niche is. And then we kind of go from there and kind of figure it out.
So tell me how you expose students then if we're thinking, we get Adobe Rush at the beginning. How do we then help them figure out what's the area of video production that they're interested in? How do you create projects that help them see all the different
Yeah.
areas?
The great thing that we do that we've kind of built in time here is
Mm,
our students are really a part of our school marketing team. So we're a private independent school. So we need to market and advertise. So we get students to pay tuition, for our school.
mhm,
So as part of that, our students are involved in, filming our athletic events. They'll go to the robotics competition. They'll go to the play. They'll go, they'll do interviews. They'll do commercials. They'll help student council come up with a thing for the football turkey bowl, and giving them the real life projects. If you can kind of show them like this is what we need, you
yeah.
know, and then these are the tools that are going to get you there, and then it's kind of up to them to kind of fill that gap in between.
Mhm,
That really allows them to kind of experiment and push themselves. And if they know that it's going to be publicized, it's going to be public, it's going to be used somewhere, that typically adds another level of,
mhm.
stress. I think it's good stress, for them. But it adds another level of, professionalism where,
Yeah.
and I tell them in my classes, and they might spend 4 hours on an English paper the day it's due, turn it in, get an A, the teacher sees it, they see it, and then it's on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Our projects are going to be seen by many people, by multiple people. So, if you're not going to put the full effort in, people are gonna see it. So a lot of the things that we do, at least starting in the classes, I'll give everybody the same project. And then we watch them all in class, and you can see the guys
Mm.
that put the effort in, and they treat it like, hey, I want to do this. And then there's the guys that didn't want to really do a lot of effort, and they're sitting in the back like, oh man, they're going to show my video, and they almost, in a way, become a little embarrassed that, their lack of effort is very evident once you watch all 20 versions
Right.
of the same video with the same clips. And it's just like any class. Not every student is gonna, take every opportunity and, be a superstar and do everything you want them to do. But the kids that do want to do it, really excel in that environment, and it gives them that kind of that real world experience that, if you're going to produce something, people are going to see it, and there's expectations around that. And, the teacher, like, I see myself as more of a mentor than a teacher,
Mm.
where, I show them stuff, I teach them the basics, but really I'm more of a guide to help them and guide them to what they want to do. And there's way better people out there on the internet that know 10 times more than me about certain things in certain areas. So it's a humbling thing, and
Mhm.
and some teachers don't like that, and they want to know, and they want to be the main source of information,
Expert.
you
Yeah.
know, and I know that I know I'm not, and things have changed, and I stay up to date as much as I can with things, but there are way better people, that are doing way cooler things than I can. So I see it, my job as a teacher in my class or in the media program is to constantly find that stuff and bring it back,
Yeah.
and kind of weed through all the stuff, because they're not going out and trying to find you know tutorials and lessons, and
Yeah.
they're just
Educational
videos on
content,
TikTok.
right?
Yeah, so my job is to really weed through all that stuff and try to stay up to date as much as possible. We just went over, we just did a lesson on Adobe Firefly and AI like yesterday, and I had them just messing
Mm.
around. And again, I'm not an expert. It just came out, a year ago. So
Yeah.
it's, we're kind of
Super new.
learning. We're learning as we go, and we're kind of learning together, which is kind of cool. But it also can be intimidating, for a teacher that's not used to that, in a room,
Mhm.
not the main person. But for me, it's really changed how I teach and how the kids respond, is, showing them that, I am not, I know what I'm doing, and I have a lot of experience, but, everything has gotten so broad, and there's so many
Yeah.
things out there that it's impossible. There's
To
no
be an
tech
expert in all of it, right? Yeah.
champion, and there's no textbook that's gonna stay up to date enough where you can use a textbook and just
Yeah.
rely on that. It's, every year my class is completely different. We change the content, the direction, the tools, the projects. It all adjusts, as the technology adjusts, which again,
Mhm.
not every teacher likes to do. They like,
Yeah.
many like to set it and forget it, and they've been teaching the same thing for 20 years and it works, and that's great for some subjects, but for this subject, you got to be flexible and adaptable,
Yeah.
and willing to learn as much as the kids learn.
So I wanted to touch a little bit more on that. You talked about Adobe Firefly. We've talked about a couple different
Mhm.
educational kind of resources. What else are you bringing into the classroom to help students master these skills? And where are you looking, I guess, for that information?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much now, I mean, every provider of any software that you want to use has
Mm.
really created great resources from
Yeah.
the people that made the software. So if you go to
Mhm.
Premiere Pro, hit the Learn tab, the guy that designed Premiere Pro is giving you a lesson on the newest tool, or so
Yeah.
that they're all baked in right into the software, where it used to be you needed an instructor and a textbook to kind of find that
Hmm.
material and bring it in. So Adobe's done a great job with getting people into the software, and you literally hit learn and it shows up, and it gives you the source files, and you can really work through it. So a lot of times we'll
Mm.
start with those, and just let them kind of experiment and learn from the expert of that software. We use YouTube a ton. We use the Certiport curriculum.
Mhm.
We use Brain Buffet, but yeah, we use Brain Buffet for our certification preparation. So the
Mhm.
guys do that independently and kind of work through that online course and kind of do that in preparation for the test. And honestly, I use social media a lot. I'm on Twitter, and I follow a lot of designers and a lot of people from Adobe and Certiport and different
Mhm.
organizations, and they post amazing resources, and it's a great way to connect. I try to go as many conferences as I can. So I was at the Adobe Summit, which was awesome.
Mhm.
Well, you learn at the conference part, but then you get to connect with other people. You get to connect with
Yeah.
um, different, Adobe vendors and really see, how things are working on the back end and talk about what their vision is. Um, I use Canva a lot, and they have a whole learning module that's really, really helpful in design and just concepts. There's so much out there now that it's almost it's almost impossible not to find, a
Yeah.
good resource if you're looking to add something to your curriculum.
Mhm.
It's all out there, and these companies want you to use their stuff, so they
Mhm.
made it a lot easier to learn their product, because they
Mhm.
want you to use it. And they want you to teach the kids how to use it.
I love that. And so then it kind of leads in naturally to this next piece. Of course, we're doing the learn, the practice component, and then the certification. So at what point are you plugging in certification for your students and getting them ready to kind of take that exam?
Yeah. So my guys we used to have it as part of my sophomore
Mm.
video class and my sophomore Photoshop class, and it was a requirement that at the end of the semester they would take the certification test. And that worked really well for the guys that wanted to take the certification test.
Mhm.
Some of the guys, since it's an elective, they were just taking it to try something new. So for them, certification was way above. It was like taking an AP test,
Yeah.
but you're at you're in the entry level of that.
Mhm.
So in the last few years, we've moved it kind of out of those classes, and now it's part of this concentration program that we have. So anybody
Mm.
that wants to be in the program and get into our senior level capstone courses at some point needs to take a certification test and be certified. And that's kind of your stamp of approval to get into this senior class. So, honestly, the guys could take it anywhere from freshman through junior year. The end of their junior year is the goal. We have a couple classes where we can give them access. A lot of the guys will do it as part of our club, and I'll just kind of give them the Brain Buffet login.
Mhm.
They'll they'll learn, and we'll kind of mentor and I'll help them, and we'll go through the process together. And then we do some practice tests through Gmetrics to kind of get them ready. I kind of show them what the test is like. And then it's up to them to kind of schedule it with me, and then we're a testing center, so we do the test right here in the lab. So we have a computer
Mhm.
set up, and we schedule it, and we just knock it out. We haven't tried the new Compass online, but we have a student scheduled for actually, I think tomorrow, to do the first of our, I guess, Compass web-based test.
Yep.
So we're curious to see, that process and how it all goes.
Mhm.
Uh, but primarily, yeah, the goal is that anyone that wants to do it should be certified by the end of the junior year. And then other guys will still do it their senior year too, but to be in our main capstone course, that's part of the portfolio submission of getting
Mm.
in.
So have you found that the certification has made a difference for your students? I mean, it could be while they're still in the program, but
Yeah.
especially after the fact, after they graduate.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, honestly, a lot of the schools, especially on if you're applying to a communications type school or a
Mm.
media program, they treat it almost like an AP test
Mhm.
where, oh, you're certified in this. So, hey, we'll bump you out of the entry level. They might not get credit. Some schools might give them credit. Don't
Yeah.
know for sure, but they at least will kind of pass them through. Like, oh, you already are certified in Premiere Pro,
Right.
so you can get through, Video 101, and then we'll
Mhm.
move into the upper level classes. It also helps them, all those students that got the jobs at the recent schools that I talked about,
Mhm.
they all, that was part of their application when they applied to be one of their student media, producers was, I'm certified in this and I've already done this. I have a portfolio. So that kind of put them right in. Like a guy last year went to Susquehanna, which is not far from here, and he was certified, and he's now the head of technical operations for their streaming, as a end of the year freshman. So, they go in, and the people that are running those programs value that certificate, and it's kind of
Mhm.
shows them that, they are here for a reason, and they're here to want to do this in college, but it also shows the people that are at the college level and professionally that, one, they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Two, they've also put in the time to earn that certification,
Hmm.
which helps them stand out, and this field is getting only more and more competitive and more
Yes.
people are in it.
Hmm.
So anything you can do to help yourself stand out, I think the Adobe certification is definitely, a big piece of that. That's going to help.
Hmm.
It's one more thing to put on their application, their resume, their LinkedIn, all those kind of things.
Yeah, I love that. Well, speaking of advice or any other thoughts, what advice would you share then, just kind of as we wrap up,
Yeah.
with other video production educators, whether they're at the high school or the collegiate level? What's a message that you want them to take away from this session?
I mean, for me, it's really just, it's more about a mindset of, the tools and the cameras are so good now, and the phone, like, it's really about, just the mindset and the creative, thought process of what you
Mm-hmm.
want to do. And the tools will get you there in a much faster, easier way than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have that extra gear of, hey, I know what I want to make, and then kind of go backwards from there and kind of figure out, what do I got to learn? What tools do I need? What equipment do I need?
Mm-hmm.
I know what I want to make, and I've seen a sample of what I want to make, and I know there's a problem I want to solve. I want to promote something, I want to sell something, I want to excite somebody about something, and then kind of start there and kind of work your way back, and then kind of, go from there and allow yourself the tools and the time to kind of, get to that point. Um, the other thing is just, just don't be afraid to try something new. These students at this age, whether they're, even grade school, but especially high school, college guys, like the ladies, they know a lot more about this stuff than we did when we were in school.
Mm-hmm.
So really, they're just looking for guidance and a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of a kick in the butt sometimes to keep them, on point. The thing
Yeah.
that I struggle with the most, and then the thing that they struggle with the most is the time management of all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They have ideas, and they want to edit and they want to produce, and they think it's going to take a day, and I'll give a project that has, hey, we're talking about it today, and it's due in 6 weeks. And they look at that deadline like they do for an English paper, where they know, "Oh, I can work on it
The week
in week
before, the
5
night before.
and get
Yeah.
everything done," and not realizing, oh, I have to plan and storyboard, I have to edit, and I have to shoot, I have to get feedback. And, so going over that production process of the pre-production, the production,
Mhm.
post-production is huge. I try to break my projects into due dates based upon those segments. So it kind of
Mm.
helps them kind of gauge their time frame, because they just see April 15th and they assume I can get it all done on April 14th.
Mhm.
But if hey, look, I need to see your script on March 15th. You should have all your videos shot by April 1st. And then editing week is April, 6th to the 10th. And then
Mhm.
review week is, X to the 15th.
Mhm.
That helps them kind of conceptualize, all the steps that go into it, because that's the part they struggle with the most. And then they rush, and then they turn in something that they're not truly proud of, because
Mhm.
they didn't get to the point that they wanted to get to because they ran out of
Right.
time. So that is really the biggest thing is this, a lot of these guys, especially your top, kids that want to do this kind of stuff, they're going to come in guns blazing, ready to, do all this stuff, and not realizing all the legwork that goes into it,
Yeah.
to get to that finished product.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I think that time blocking is so important, and it goes into a discussion that we could have, I mean, a whole other hour about the soft skills associated with video production and editing. There's a lot of behind the scenes
Yeah.
work that
Yeah, I
goes
mean,
into that.
and that's a major part of it is, if I give my class an assignment to do, you're going to do an interview with our dean of academics about our new classes, next
Hmm.
year. And, you know, they don't, they're not very good at, emailing. They're not good at
Yeah.
dates. They're not good at time. They're not good at all the professional parts of setting that process up.
Hmm.
They can put a tripod up and hit record on the camera, and they can make it look nice, but all those parts of, pitching the idea, of
Hmm.
explaining why we're doing this, getting feedback from the person that they recorded, and making sure they don't look silly. And then going back to the drawing board if they have to fix something is a very, for them, a very frustrating experience. But It's all part of the process. I explain to them, very rarely, if you're doing this for a career or, for a job or in college, you're very rarely going to work in a silo by yourself. Someone's going to either be paying you to do that job or a boss is going to tell you to do this job. So you're never really going to have 100%, creative control over the entire process. So being able to collaborate and work with other people. One thing I do that drives them nuts is, I'll have them write a script for, a simple project. I'll give kids, a bunch of B-roll and they have to make a commercial about our school. And they all have the same clips they have to use. And I make them go through with a partner and they have to go through and kind of storyboard what their video is going to look like with the music. And, this is what our product's going to be. But I make them give that script to the group next to them and they have to swap scripts. And you have to make the other group's video. So if their script doesn't make sense to the other group,
Video's not going to turn out very well.
and it blows up every time because they don't want to put they know what they want to make, but they're not good at explaining it, and that's a huge part of a job. Is you got to show somebody what your idea is, before they're going to approve it. Whether it's a boss, your budgeter, your creative director, they got to be able to see what you see up here on paper. And that's huge. A lot of these guys can see the world, amazingly, in their brain, and then they get the machine and they're good at it. But the in between of, hey, this is what I want
Communicating
to
the
do.
vision, right?
Yeah, this is why I'm doing this. And that's going to be a skill that they're going to need. If they're in a boardroom, they're in a presentation, they're working for a hospital. Like, hey, we need a video about this drug. Why do we need to do that? And that's really the part that I think our classes should push toward is the hard skills of the editing is becoming easier and easier and easier, but it's the soft skills of the why and where is it going to go and why are you doing this and how are you going to distribute it is really kind of the next level of where this stuff is going.
Yeah. Well, we had a question come through in the chat that I wanted to address because I think it's so relevant for so many educators. What role are you having AI play in the video production process with your students? How are you bringing that into the classroom?
Yeah, well, this year we just started a little bit. As I was just saying, I was at the Adobe Summit conference in LA in Las Vegas last week. So if you don't know what it is, or if you haven't seen anything about it, find their website and watch the keynote that they showed, because everything is moving in that direction.
Right.
From video production to advertising to marketing to targeted drip email campaign. Everything is and when you think of AI, it's really the way that I know everyone knows ChatGPT, the text, that kind of stuff, but what the creative side is really doing with AI, it's really about efficiency and kind of content velocity and being able to do a lot more faster, and allow you more time to think and be creative because you're not in there tinkering. One example they showed was, one of the companies was they wanted to send out a mass email to 10,000 people with a graphic invitation to some product. And in the past, they would have had to have a designer sit there and go in,
Make
Jimmy,
the graphic,
Bobby, Barb, and make 10,000 graphics with AI, I think it was Firefly and different tools that Adobe is now, bringing to the mainstream. You literally make the graphic once and you hit the AI button tool and you upload a spreadsheet and it'll make you 10,000 graphics in the background while you go to lunch and you come back and it's done. So it's really about speed. And even I was messing with Firefly last night, just kind of getting my head around it. They've added new things where you can do a sketch and upload that and kind of, it'll bring your idea to life. I was talking about in class, I've always had, I was always good when I was younger. I always had ideas of what I wanted to make, but I couldn't draw a stick figure. So these tools really helped me, as I grew up and figured out how to do this kind of stuff. But now with the AI, if you don't have to, you can just sketch something and it'll create a vector graphic that you can then pull into a video. And so it's just amazing. We use it a lot for some script writing. I had the kids write a script commercial for LaSalle, and then I showed them a generated AI version that I did just for practice. And then we had them kind of put their own scripts into ChatGPT and it fed it back, a better version of it. So we do that, in term on the text kind of side, but we've been using Firefly. I just found a brand new one that's awesome. It's called Suno, SUNO.ai,
Mhm.
and it's an um, audio generator. So it
Okay.
creates songs for you. So you can either just type in, and one of my students did it today. He needed a song for a basketball mixtape. So he typed in, hype rap sounding mixtape basketball video.
Uh-huh.
It spits out a 2-minute song, and there's options for lyrics where there's a guy singing that's all AI generated that you don't know who it is, and it sounds awesome. And then there's just instrumental. So kids can tweak and make very simple audio now. I use AI. We just did a big interview the other day in this studio with our new football coach, and the microphones, for some reason, sounded terrible. There was
Mm.
something was turned the wrong way, so there was like a hiss and a hum, and in the past we would have been, out of luck, and it would
Mhm.
have been able to really be used, or we would have had to not use, a lot of it. With in Premiere Pro with their audio enhancer now, there's literally one button, you click it, and it went through all 30
Done.
minutes, and it sounded like we were in a professional studio. So, that's where, and Adobe is really at the forefront of this stuff. And it's baked into their software. You just got to kind of get in there and kind of mess around. But there's really never a reason now to have bad audio or a bad script or a song that doesn't work. Like, everything's out there. It's just a matter of finding it and using it. From my perspective, from AI, like, a lot of our teachers are scared to death of it. Our English teachers hate it. Our
Mhm.
math teachers hate it. I think it's awesome, and I think in the creative world, it's a huge asset, and it's going to
Yeah.
make everyone faster and better and more efficient. Our teachers that have been teaching English for 20 years have been given the same Beowulf assignment for 20 years. It's not optimal for them, because they could just type in whatever essay
Yeah.
they've been doing for years, and it comes right back out. So, that is affecting a lot of our teachers, our more
Yeah.
veteran teachers. And, but for our classes, stuff like this, that's project based, and it's, results
Changing all
driven.
the time too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and so there's not enough data for the machines to know what we're doing.
Mhm.
But our classes are very project heavy, where you have to show us what you did, and you have to have a tangible outcome. And AI is not going to be able to do that. It might help you, it
Yeah.
might make it faster, it might make it better, but at the end, it's still a human being that's going to have to make the decisions on what shot, and what music, and all those kind of things.
Yeah, it's being able to incorporate all of those tools. So I'm
Mhm.
excited about your perspective because I think that's what
Yeah.
we're hoping a lot of teachers will think, and the approach that they'll take is that this is an exciting new development. It's changing the way the industry works. So how can we bring this into the classroom? So I think that that's
Yeah,
fabulous.
I mean, the way we kind of explain it, my art department is, I'm the department chair. It's called the Innovation and Design Department. So our
Mm,
kind of motto for the year is that, there was articles at our PD in September that,
sure.
AI take people's jobs, and, all the scare kind of, things. And our perspective is that it's AI is not going to take your job, but it's going to be a student that knows how to use AI in that field that's going to take that guy's job.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the machine. It's going to be the kid that knows how to use it faster, more efficiently, and better.
Mhm.
Why would I hire, a guy my age doesn't know how to do that kind of stuff when I can hire a kid that's cheaper, that is 10 times faster and can do the same thing, and
Yeah.
that's where, it's all kind of trending in that direction.
I love that. Well, Rob, thank you so much for sharing all of your insight and these incredible anecdotes and stories about your students. We're so glad that we got to take the time to learn with you. Before we close out, since I know you have a hard stop at a quarter to, I just wanted to give a couple announcements to those of our attendees who are here. As part of Certified Academy Design, we do offer a boot camp. So if you've been listening to this session and you wanted to try out the certification or some of the curriculum that Rob has mentioned for Adobe Premiere Pro or any of our other certifications, please feel free to email us at certifiedacademy@pearson.com, and we can make sure to get you more information about how to register for those elements and how to get that included as part of your boot camp experience. So I'll go ahead actually and just drop that link into the chat for those who wanted to learn a little bit more about that. The second announcement that we have is that this webinar in this series is all a build up to our annual Certified Educators Conference that will be happening in Orlando, June 17th through the 19th. So we're so excited to be able to spend time on site. To Rob's point, it's so great to be able to collaborate and connect in person. So what a great opportunity to be able to do that. And I will make sure to drop that link here into the chat as well. And Rob, I'm gonna just copy your Twitter
Thank you.
handle so that people can see that one
I'll
too.
be at that conference too. So anyone that's going to go,
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Great chance to connect in person. And the third and final announcement is that we'll be having our next session next week, learning about hands-on learning in the classroom. So kind of bleeding into this discussion and taking that a little bit further about how can you make your project more hands-on, get your students more excited and engaged about the topics that you're teaching. So we hope that you're able to join us for that as well. So as always, thank you for taking the time to spend with us this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing everyone next week. Thanks so much, Rob. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. We appreciate all of you.
thank you very much, guys. Any questions, feel free to reach out, social media, email, whatever you can do, and happy to talk more.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Rob. Thanks, everyone. Have a great one.